Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Thursday, September 29th, and today we are continuing our study of Acts 4. We are up to verse 32, and I believe we're going to be wrapping this up tomorrow and be done with Acts 4. There's just so much meat in this chapter. I hope that it's blessed you as it's blessed me. Now, this in Acts 32, it says, "Now the full number of those who believed were of one heart and soul, and no one said that any of the things that belonged to him was his own, but they had everything in common." Now, thankfully, because of the grammar, there are commas in here, so we can break this up. So they believed that they were of one heart and one soul. That means that they were very focused on glorifying God. They were very focused on living for God and being within his will. Their purpose was not to edify themselves or glorify themselves. There was no sense of competition. There was a sense of, we are doing this as a group. We're going to fulfill this mission. We're going to work together. We're going to pray together. We're going to care for each other. We're going to support each other. It was very much of a one mindset, and there weren't these arguments over the color of the carpet and all the stuff that is just not of significant importance. What they were focused on is glorifying God. And then the second part is, no one said that any of the things that belonged to him was his own. They recognized God's provision. They recognized that God had provided things for them and that it was because of God that they had stuff. And if you look at other parts of Acts, you will see that when they saw that there was a need and that somebody needed something, they sold things, they did whatever they needed to do in order to provide for that need. And because of that, nobody went without. It all came from within that church body, and they cared for each other. Now, as I researched this and I looked for as much information as I could find, one of the things I discovered is that at this point, the gospel has not spread very far. It's really just in a localized area, and pretty much just in that one area. So the new believers that had traveled, and they're there for a festival, and then they hear the gospel and they become believers, they needed some support. They weren't home. They weren't where their resources were. They weren't on their turf, so to speak. They were on other people's turf. And so the church stepped in and they supported them. Now, this all things in common. This is not an early form of communism. I saw a lot of criticism of this verse saying that it was an early form of communism, but it was more of, I have this, so I will share it. I see that you need it, so I will voluntarily give it up. It was not an obligation. It was just, they saw that there was a need and they filled it. That's what that was all about. So as we think about that in today's world and today's church and things like that, we've got to keep that in mind, that we are there to care for each other. We are there to provide for our Christian brothers and sisters. And that's why tithe and offering is so important. It's great to do it through the church, because then you have a little bit of protection in that, the church is going to have a criteria, and the church is going to have a group of people that's voting, and that money will go out to the people that are in need. So we need to be aware that that's an essential part. So when you're planning your budget and you're planning your finances, you want to make sure that you're planning for that tithe, because it may be caring for your Christians and brothers and sisters. Even if it's going to the mission field, it's still caring for your Christian brothers and sisters. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.